So I took it upon myself thinking, well, maybe I'll pull the disability card. I mean, everybody's pulling the race card these days, so why don't I pull the disability card? And I went over, and there's a congressman from a New England state who is in a wheelchair. And I thought, maybe he'll understand what I'm getting at, because y'all, I've read all 2,000 pages of that bill, and it does not support life. It does not support people with terminal illness. It does not support people with disabilities. It figures out the quickest way to get rid of them. And that's putting it on the bottom line in plain English. Because people with disabilities and people with terminal illnesses and people that age are expensive. And when it gets expensive and you run out of money, well, we can't pay your bills anymore. Well, if you can't pay my bills anymore, I can't get what I need. Well, I guess you're going to die then. And that's just the way it is. So off I went to speak to this congressman, and I one of my very best friends happens to work on his hometown staff. See, I can even be friends with a Democrat. I can even be friends with a Republican. I can be friends with a Libertarian because I'm an independent. I'm a woman. I'm an American. So I said to him, and I introduced myself, and he said, "Oh, I've heard about you. You're the traitor to your community." I said, "Really? What is my community? I thought I was an American." He said, "No, you're a disabled American." I said, "No, sir, I am not. I am an American who happens to use a wheelchair." And I said, "Isn't that the PC way we say it these days?" So he looked at me, and I lost my temper, and I sat there, and I had to count to about 20. And then I had to count to 20 backwards, because I was really angry. And he just looked at me and he said, "I think you're the stupidest person I've ever met. I don't have time to talk to you." And rolled away down the hall. And I thought, man, what a role model for people who use wheelchairs. That's kind of cool. Can't face a problem, run the heck away from it. You know, either walk, run, or roll. Whatever you have to do to get rid of it. So I went back outside with the rest of the Patriots and I said, I've had enough of this. I met lots of really cool people that day, but one man that I want to tell you about is burned in my brain forever. I usually have a sidekick. Her name is Lucy the Dachshund, and my friend Scott's standing over there holding her because she tends to upstage me because she's so cute. And being the diva that I am, I don't care to be upstaged, so I make her sit elsewhere when I'm speaking. But she does have a job besides being cute. She helps me know when I'm going to have a seizure, and she enables me to be medication-free and completely independent. So she also is great for conversation. She ran up to this other man in a wheelchair. She always runs up to someone in a wheelchair, I guess because she's used to riding around in one, and she thinks she's going to get a ride if she does that. So she ran up to this man, and he was a much older gentleman. I'd say he's maybe 90. And he was sitting there, and there was just a dignity about him. And he had on a VFW cap, and he had all these medals on. And after Lucy got her just due that she thinks is hers because she's a little dachshund, and dachshunds must be worshipped and adored. Turns out he had 3 at home, so he understood that. He and I began to talk. And he asked me, he said, "Do you understand what this is really about?" I said, "Yes, sir, I do." I said, "But is there anything that you want to tell me?" And he said, "Yes." He said, and I'm going to cry, I think, when I tell you this, because even still it moves me. He grabbed my hands in his frail, gnarled hands, and he said, "I walked into the concentration camps with Ike." Yes, that Ike. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Yep, that one. And he said, "Ike made me take pictures of things I wanted to forget, so that the rest of the world wouldn't forget them." And he said the reason that whole situation happened is because their leaders went on a power grab. And then the leader among leaders went on a big power grab from the rest of the leaders. And they ended up with a socialist government in control of everything. And he said, "Ma'am, I don't know if you know that we're this, but we're headed there right now." I said, "Yes, sir, I'm aware of that. And I'm going to do everything I can to prevent it." And then he put his arms around me and he said, "Young lady, please don't let everything I saw be in vain. Please don't let the people that I watched die in front of me, my brothers in arms, please don't let it be in vain." And I said, "I promise you, as much as it depends on me and my fellow patriots, it won't be in vain." And he said, "Well, I've got one last thing to say to you." He said, "Old Glory's going to be flipped over on my house until this is changed." And I didn't get what he meant until I went home. Stupak caved, all these things happened, and I knew that the bill was going to pass, and so I just went home and caught up on email and played on Facebook. How many of you are not yet on Facebook? If you are not yet on Facebook, you need to be on Facebook. It's very important. It's great for wasting time. So it's better than soap operas for wasting time. So anyway, so I went on Facebook, and then all of a sudden it hit me what he meant about flipping around Old Glory, flipping Old Glory over. He was going to fly his flag upside down. Why was he flying that flag upside down? Well, I looked it up. I thought it made sense in the back of my mind. Yes, sir, exactly like that. It made sense in the back of my mind. It rang a bell. And then I remembered what every military guy I've ever known, every military woman I've ever known told me about the flag. They said, when you are in distress, you turn that flag upside down. We are in distress as a nation, folks, and we all ought to be flying our flags upside down until this is over.